Assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters, my name is Osman Muhammad. I'm creating this video on behalf of the United Mosques Council under the instruction of Qari Muhammad Ismail. Just regarding the recent survey which has been issued by the Bereavement and Coronial Services in Sheffield. As you may be aware, they're surveying the provision of burial provision across the city over the next 25 years and beyond. So it's very important that our community gets behind the survey and take the time to complete it. Now, it's important that every male and female over the age of 16 takes the time to complete the survey. It only takes between 5 to 7 minutes, so I'll just walk you through the survey now. So anyone who has any difficulty completing the survey, inshallah, if you watch the video, and I'll take you through each question step by step. So if you just click on Take Survey. Once that's loaded, it'll bring the next page, which is the first page of the survey, and part of that you'll have section 1, which is about you. So you'll be expected to complete your some details about yourself. So first question, what's your postcode? So just put in the first part of your postcode. For example, if you're from S2, you'll put in S2. You'll put the details of your sex, as in gender, male, female, and so on there. What's the age group? So between 16 to 18, 19 to 24, and so on. You can fill that appropriately for your age. It's important here that we put our religion as well. So you've got here Muslim, you fill that in. And number 5, for anyone with any disability or impairment, it's important that they also complete that. If you do have any disabilities, then it's important that you also complete question 6 and detail which disabilities you have. Or if it's other, you can also specify. Once you've completed those, just click Next. That'll bring you to section 2, which will ask the question, burial or cremation, which would you like to be? So obviously from the Muslim community, we would want to go in for being buried. And it's important that we do highlight that. This is one of the key questions. So section 2, question 7, very important question for our community. Make sure that we put in buried, and then click Next. Section 3 then has certain determining factors, and the first one is question 8. What factors, basically looking at what's the thing that's most important for you for the future plans. So again, another important question for us here. You're meant to rank between 1 and 10, 1 being the most important. So right at the top, we've got faith and religion. So again, very important that we put number 1 as being our faith and religion. You've got other things there, location, costs, and so on, and you can rank them according to your own personal opinion. But for the first one, is very important for the Muslim community that we put that our faith is very important to us. Number 9, are there any other factors that you that would be important to you that haven't been listed above? So likewise, if there's any factors that haven't been listed and you'd like to highlight them, it's important that you do put them down there. And then next, section 4, quality of service and feedback. So question 10 is just asking about if you've had to use the Sheffield City Council bereavement service in the past 5 years. So you can obviously answer that according to whether you have or not. And then question 11 is asking about would you prefer to use council-run service or service provided through commercial business? Again, it's your kind of personal preference here, whether you'd prefer a council-run service in the future or commercial business, or if you prefer not to say. Question 12, do you think there should be a weekend service offer? Again, very important question for our community here, and it's important that we put yes, that we would like for there to be a weekend service. Obviously, we would like to have a same-day burial where possible. So part of that, if our loved ones pass on the weekend, we would like that service. So if we definitely put yes on that one. Next, we have section 5, the environment and cemeteries as a green space. Now, question 13 here, this is starting to look at the different kind of uses of the cemetery area, and it's saying, if you would agree for certain parts of the graveyard to be committed for a greener future, for example, dedicated space to wildflower, and bringing in more diverse range of wildlife. Now, this is just my own personal opinion. I personally prefer to put no there, just on the basis that sometimes, it is good to protect nature, wildlife, and these things, but at a cemetery site, something like this could lead to then protected animals, certain protections for the natural flora, fauna, wildlife, which then could limit burial space in the future as well. So just on that basis, that's my own personal opinion. So, but do answer that question as you feel is best. Question 14. It's vital that all our residents have access to green space, and we want to know if there's a public support for promoting our cemetery as sites for walking, relaxing and recreation. Again, take this question with some thought, in that if cemeteries are then being used for other services, then we need to consider what those services are. So my personal opinion and suggestion is that we select no here, because then if you look at the next question, you'll then be looking at, what activities do you want to consider as being appropriate. So then we may find that some of these activities they've mentioned here, as in yoga and Zumba, which could be dancing and different activities, are then taking place either in the cemetery or nearby the cemetery in those areas. So, it could open to use of the cemetery for other purposes, which may not be befitting to us. So, like I said, my suggestion to that question would be to put no to question 14. And for then 15, you'd be able to leave that question, wouldn't be relevant. And question 16, if no, are you more receptive to these activities taking place in our cemeteries that are currently closed to new grave? So those, graveyards which aren't allowing new burials now, so they've given an example of Bengrave and Darnell. So, would be receptive to those additional or different activities taking place in those cemeteries? Again, suggestion that we put no for that question. Number 17, many people across the UK are opting for environmentally friendly burial alternatives, such as natural burials, where the bodies interred without traditional coffins, headstone, biodegradable coffins. This is actually quite a positive question for us, because actually this is alluding to the fact for us that we can have or promote the shroud burial, which would be really good, and definitely one that we as a community can get behind and put yes, and opt towards having more natural burials in the future. Question 18. How much you agree or disagree with the following statements? Environment, climate change will play an important role for me when I decide how I would like to be buried. I would personally recommend that we put strongly disagree here, on the basis that regardless of environmental factors, those factors which we've already highlighted as being our faith as a priority, regardless of the climate factors, that would still, our Islamic belief and our faith will still be most important to us when we consider burial. So that's just something to highlight there. Question 19. Please select how much you agree or disagree with the following statement. I would support the idea of the service using less chemicals in the cemetery, even if it meant that they had a more unkept natural look and increased maintenance cost. I mean, you can put whatever you feel appropriate on this question, but sort of neither agree nor disagree may be a sensible option, but as you feel is best on that one. And if you click next, that'll bring you to section 6, facilities. Question 20, are you supportive of the council generating income in this way? It mentions here regarding having different facilities, which basically could be used as a financial could be used as sort of promoting businesses or services at the cemetery, which could help with the running costs and generate income. Again, this may be something that we opt no for, on the basis that some of those services or some of these commercial uses that they're talking about, they may not necessarily be in line with our religious beliefs, viewpoints. It mentions here chapel with provision of modern funeral services such as music, projectors. So it's something to take sort of carefully, and a key question here, question 20. I know it doesn't necessarily allude to certain points, but it's something that if we take some caution here, then will help our cause. Question 22, very important one here. Dogs are currently not allowed in Sheffield City Council cemeteries. Would you like to see this change? It's important that we put no, dogs should not be allowed in the council cemeteries, obviously with the exception to support dogs, which would be for people with visual impairments and blind. So that would be no. And if you click next, and section 7, memorials and regulations. This is talking about those different memorials like headstones and so on, that different members could put in. I mean, obviously answer a question which you feel is most appropriate. There may be different viewpoints on this, or whatever you feel is kind of more suitable, then if you answer that accordingly. And then if you click next. Now, question 24, this is basically the last question before your survey is then submitted. On this question, it's basically giving you then the opportunity to give any feedback or any additional points that you could mention regarding the survey or anything that's been missed. Now, this is a great opportunity for us to mention those things which haven't been discussed in the survey. For example, weekend and evening provision, bank holiday provision, access to diggers for burial, access to a dedicated or a designated Muslim cemetery, having Muslim designated